Welcome to a special episode of Cooking by the Campfire. I'm Samantha.
Oh, I'm Sarah.
And this is Lone Crow Adventures, the channel where we talk about all things camping, hiking, and backpacking. So we thought it would be a good opportunity while we're sitting here doing a little bit of car camping and some nice cooking to go over our very first backpacking trip, so that way you can learn from the mistakes that we made, because boy, we made a lot of them. So why don't you start off with your pack?
We decided to go backpacking, and I don't think at that point I'd even been camping more than 10 times, if that, and I'd never been backpacking. So, I kind of imagined you just need the things you would need for camping. So, I started out, I think I went on Amazon and looked around for some good pack deals. And, how many liters was that pack?
60, I believe.
Because, when you're judging, you're like, okay, I need a big pack. What's the biggest I can get for the lowest price? Because the only measure of any kind of thing you have is well, I just need a big pack, So I bought a 60 liter. I don't even remember the brand. It was some, I don't even know.
Asian Sensation pack.
Yeah. It was this pretty blue color, great. 60 liters. It's going to be huge. It came in and, I was ready to go. I had this impressive fancy blue pack, 60 liters. I was going to get it done.
Little did we know, within the first half a mile of hitting the trail, the hip belt buckle snapped. And so we had to take some, I think, paracord, and we tied the pack to you.
Yep.
And now, other things that Sarah had in this pack, and I had really discouraged some of these things, but
I don't think you even really
I didn't even know what I was doing. I had never gone backpacking before either.
I was on a budget, right? Back then
poor.
It was
we were really poor.
And I thought I had a really high-end sleeping bag. I still to this day like this sleeping bag.
So she had a Coleman 40 degree bag, that big,
it was
giant
probably
car camping one.
Well, it was a normal sleeping bag with super fluffy, something that was really comfortable to sleep in. But I picked up the sleeping bag because I'm okay, I'm gonna get the lowest degree, right, cheapest, therefore that would be the best.
And you figure Coleman, that's a good brand,
right? Because you know what you're doing.
You know what you're doing. Yeah, Coleman's great for car camping, but
so you don't. I didn't even look twice or even think about the dimensions of the sleeping bag when I purchased. It was not a thing. No. I didn't think about down or synthetic.
We couldn't afford down.
Any of that. Any of that. I didn't even know there was synthetic versus. I don't know. And my pad, my sleeping pad, right? Because I didn't know anything about blow-up mats, right?
Yep.
So, and you're gonna just sleep on the ground, right? Because that's backpacking. You just imagine laying out, So I went out to Walmart and I got this. It was I swear it was the Girl Scout sleeping pad. It's that. You can still get it at Walmart. It's the
$12
green, little foam mat, but it's not even as good as the yoga mat foam. It's just a hard kind of horrible, big too, not
and light.
Small.
It was at least light.
Yes, but it was huge, and so things I couldn't fit even inside my pack consisted of the sleeping bag, I think, and the pad. They both were on the outside.
Sleeping bag, the pad, and you had a regular full-size pillow from home.
Okay,
strapped to the outside of her pack.
I think the pillow was inside the pack. That's why nothing would fit, because the big pillow. Yeah. So I think when you and we have the pictures. I think when you show the pictures, I think if I remember correctly, inside the pack was a tent and a full-size pillow, right? Because and that's why the pad and the sleeping bag, they had no chance of fitting inside the pack.
And
but it had all these outer straps, so it was going to be fine.
And you were using an Ozark Trail 4-person tent, I think was your tent.
Yeah.
Ozark Trail 4-person tent.
Heavy. It was probably
tent.
8 pounds or something?
Easily, yeah. And then with my setup, I had never gone backpacking before, but I knew, okay, I need to get a good pack. I need to make sure that my pack fits my body. But I had the same mentality. Like, it needs to be big. Like, I need to be able to bring all this stuff. So I purchased a Mountain Hardwear Ozonic 65-liter pack.
You did much better.
Yeah, it was
Much better brand.
Great pack. I thought it was really cool because it was waterproof, and I didn't need to use a pack liner. I didn't even know anything about pack liners at that time. Yeah. But I thought, oh great, it's waterproof, not realizing that that really affected the weight of the pack. The pack weighs like 4.5 pounds empty, so it's a pretty heavy pack.
I had no plan for if it rained, because the sleeping bag wasn't in a water. I had not even considered it.
Thank God it didn't. But then I had like all these extra clothes, and Sarah did too. And I was smart enough. I wore quick dry clothes, but then I brought, just like when you're car camping, you bring, you know, a change of clothes for every single day.
This was like two-night trip, right?
Yeah, a 2-night trip. Yeah. So we had all these extra clothes and extra socks and underwear, and
we had decided to go to a backpacking site at Copper Falls State Forest in Wisconsin. And it was going to be, well, it said it was going to be a 2-mile hike in. Now, because I'd never been backpacking, I really had no concept of miles either. That seemed like it wasn't that far, you know. It's like, okay, 2 miles. You know, no idea about the terrain, no idea about any of it.
And I remember when I first packed my pack at home before I left for the trip, I had all my stuff in it. And, well, what's that movie with the girl that doesn't know how to backpack?
Wild, I think.
Wild.
Yeah.
So if you've ever seen the movie Wild, there's that scene at the very beginning when she's in the hotel and she's got all this stuff in her pack, and then she's like, she can't even pick it up, it's so heavy, and then she tries like sitting on the ground and putting her arms through it and standing up. Like, I literally had to do that, and I realized like my pack was over 60 pounds and I had way too much stuff. So I got rid of some other stuff and, you know, kind of consolidated. And I ended up getting it down to 48 pounds, which is still way too heavy.
2-day trip.
But at least I could carry it, you know? Alright, these taters are ready.
I believe my pack was also, it was over 40 pounds, was it not?
Oh, well over, yeah.
So, I mean, we were carrying, I would say, like right around or a little under 100 pounds of gear for 2 people for 2 days.
This was the stove. We actually have it here. This is our car camping little burner. This was the stove that you brought on our first backpacking trip. So, giant propane cylinder. I think we brought 2 propane cylinders because we're such noobs. And then this...
Did we bring a big coffee pot, or how are we?
I think we just decided we weren't going to drink coffee.
Okay.
We didn't have that settled yet. But yeah, so we had this huge burner, this big plastic base, this giant thing.
Didn't we have like big cups too? Like...
Oh yeah, big
with
insulated
lids.
thermal, you know, travel cups. So we had this stove, a couple of cups. And then I had this hammock set up because I was convinced at that time that like hammock camper, I'd watched all this stuff on YouTube and I thought, hammock campers, they know what's up. So I bought this hammock. It had this integrated bug net and I thought it was great.
That makes me think of another story later on with you and the integrated bug net.
So, you know, I got a sleeping bag, and I didn't have a lot of money for a sleeping bag, so I did the same thing. I brought like a car camping sleeping bag, but it was like kind of like a smaller synthetic one, kind of more similar to like the size of like an Aegis Max, but it was like a synthetic fill, so at least it kind of compressed small. It was still heavy. But I didn't bring an underquilt. I didn't even know that underquilts even existed. And it got down to like 44 degrees that night, and I thought I was going to die. I was so cold. I couldn't believe it.
I was really good in my 4-person tent with my big Coleman sleeping bag and my full-size pillow.
I know.
And all my clothes.
So, you know, so let's talk about the injury.
The hike in.
You know, like the life-changing injury.
The hike. The terrain was rather up and down. There was a lot of elevation gain and loss. So, you know, here you are having never backpacked, and you have 50 pounds on your back, and, you know, your straps start breaking on your pack. I think I lost one of the external straps at some point.
Yeah, I ended up at one point, I remember, I think I was carrying your sleeping bag at one point.
And I mean, here's this backpack, and it's not fitted for me. I don't know who it was fitted, you know. We didn't know anything about that. So, and it's like tied to my waist, right? So every time like we tried to take a break, I mean, you kind of just stopped taking breaks because it was like it's tied to you.
I mean, it was 2 miles. We shouldn't need to take a break. Now, mind you, we were really fat when we tried to do this trip. Like 4 years ago, I was almost 200 pounds.
We're still fat, but we were even fatter.
And you were at least 45 pounds heavier than you are now. So we were like we were video gamers, you know, we sat around, we didn't do a lot
We were
outside.
indoor kind of people.
And here we are, you know, a couple really overweight chicks that don't know what they're doing on the trail with all this like really heavy stuff.
Yeah. And I remember, yeah, it's like, I think about it now, and I can't even comprehend what that trip felt like, because since then, like, well, just 2 weeks ago, we managed to put down 28 miles in like 42 hours. This trip was 2 miles in, and I remember at the time, it felt like the longest walk I'd ever walked in my life. We'd never really been to bear country and done a lot of camping, like, you know, and
we had
bears.
we had no bear hang.
No,
like we had no
but
bear.
But we were
plan.
super paranoid about bears. But like all we knew is a bear was going to attack us at any minute. So
no plan for the food.
I remember, you know, at one point we were like lost, but our packs were so heavy that we had to sit them in the middle of the trail, and we, you know, walked instead of carrying our you know, we backtracked without our packs because we're like, oh well, let's try to go scout it out, but I don't want to carry the pack any further. And then, so we get down, scout it out, we don't see anything, and then we realize, oh, it's bear country, we've left our, like, you know, all of our food and our packs, like, on this trail, like, you know, somewhere. So then I remember, like, we're running back, you know, frantic to get to these heavy packs or whatever. And I mean, this goes on for, like, hours and hours and hours. It's 2 miles. Which I swear was some Twilight Zone episode. It did not seem like 2 miles. But okay. So, and anyways, so by this point, like, I'm getting dehydrated. We don't think you can access your water or anything. I don't even know if we had any on the outside of our pack, or how we were carrying water. I don't think we were. I think we had some maybe in, but I don't know. I don't remember drinking. Do you really? I think we took all water.
Yeah, we didn't bring enough. And it was hot. It was about 95 degrees during the day. It was really hot.
I just remember, like, we're getting worn down. We're lost. We can't find it. But now we're kind of going back and forth on the trail trying to figure out. Because, I mean, it's become obvious to us that the trail has been washed out. Like, it's, you know, there's, like, it looks like there's been some erosion on, like, a muddy cliff face, and we can't find the trail. So, by now we're getting worn down. We've been out there for hours trying to hit this 2 miles. And I remember early on, like, there was a time, like, I fell with the pack, and it wasn't a problem. I fell. But then the second time around, I think I was, like, coming over a log or something, and the sheer weight of the pack and exhaustion, like, I fell a second time. And this time I went down on, like, hands and knees, and the pack, which was tied to me, kind of, and 50 pounds, kind of come down on my back as I, like, fell to my hands and knees. And at that time, though, I don't remember. I mean, I was able to get back up. It wasn't, I didn't know at the time that anything had really occurred. I was not hurt yet. I mean, that was obviously the injury that, like, you can explain that injury. But.
So basically what ended up happening, because when she fell, the spine hyperextended, and it wasn't.
Insert occupational therapist, go.
It wasn't a full herniated disc, but it was kind of like a bulging disc where it was pushing out the back between the two vertebrae of S1 and L5, which is L5 is like the last spinal vertebrae, kind of right before the sacrum portion of the spine.
Kind of in the sciatica area.
Yeah, I'm trying not to get too technical.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's a lower back injury. And what happened is that because the disc bulged, it pushed up against the left nerve root of the spine. And a few days after we got back, Sarah had all this pain kind of running down
started limping.
The back of her leg. Yeah, you started limping.
And I kind of thought at the time, like, oh, I'm just sore from the whatever. So I, like, was doing walks at this time because I knew after this, like, I needed to get in shape. Like, I needed to be able, you know, I wanted to be able to backpack a couple miles. So I started going for walks every night, and I would be limping, but I thought, like, oh, it's just soreness, it's going to get better. You're totally smoking out my story, man.
Sorry.
Anyway, so after the limping went on for, like, I would say, it was probably, like, what, like a week or something?
It was a couple weeks, yeah.
So this went on until one morning, my alarm went off for work, and I went to roll over to get out of bed, and I couldn't move. Like my legs, like I was in this intense pain, like where your upper body moves, but your lower body, and I really thought for a minute, like, I was paralyzed. I didn't know what was happening. And then I realized, like, I mean, I couldn't move my leg. I couldn't walk. It was really bad, and It just, how bad did that go? How long did that go on for? Like
that went
couple
on
months?
for a few months, and then it flared up again around Christmas time.
Yes, I remember at Christmas it was worse.
Yep.
Because at first I worked through it, and then it happened again at Christmas where I woke up one morning, and this is how it always happened, and I realized it was back, and I thought, oh no, it's back.
Yep.
And I actually had it, like, I missed almost a month of work, had to go on short-term disability, and I mean, and for such a, like, something that seemed like so minor or whatever, it was pretty life-altering.
Yeah, and honestly, it's a good thing that she married me, because I'm a therapist, and we have to do, like, myofascial release techniques and stretches and exercises on that left leg and that lower back on a continual basis, and it's an injury that she's going to have for the rest of her life.
It's been, what, years?
4 years.
4 years.
Yep.
And I mean, what ended up happening too is I didn't get all my feeling back in my foot and my ankle, especially. My foot has a lot of, like, numbness. It's really affected my balance. I was never a clumsy person before, and I've really become, because you can't, I don't think you can feel exactly when you're standing, and it kind of throws your balance. And every now and again, and quite commonly, if we're not stretching and rolling out the leg, what'll happen is I'll get these Charlie horses in my calf in the middle of the night, and Samantha knows it well. Like, there'll be like a scream, and then I have to stand up immediately, because the minute you put weight on your leg, it stops, right? So it's like a middle of the night, cover, throw, scream, whatever. And just backtracking, this was like the trip we went on together that we ended up starting dating shortly after that, or whatever. I mean, so that was, I guess, like the romantic getaway. It was a great time. I think a couple of things, like, one, if the pack hadn't been so heavy, 2, if it hadn't been tied to me, so it was,
And it didn't fit.
and I mean, it, you know, because when it was tied to you, it wasn't real close to your body, and so it had this bounce effect that came down on you. But yeah, so it was a good time, and it's affected my whole life.
I remember after
what's worse is the end of the trip. We actually didn't find the trail.
No, we never did
Ever.
find that stupid backpack site we were looking for.
And it was getting dark,
Mm-hmm.
and now we're scared. We're in bear country. We can't find the trail.
No cell reception.
We're exhausted.
We see hunter's tape everywhere. So we just, like, hiked back as far as we could. We ended up hiking back all the way to the car.
Well, and then right before the car, what would you say, like,
Probably 2/3 of the way back, Sarah started throwing up.
I wasn't throwing up, I was dry heaving.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like I was going to throw up, and I started dry heaving because of dehydration.
Yeah, she was so dehydrated.
And I had water. At that point, we got some water, and that wasn't helping.
No, it wasn't. She was so dehydrated, the electrolytes were completely replenished from her system. So fortunately, we were able to get back to the car, and I remember I had to, like, go with my pack in this stupid Coleman sleeping bag. And I would walk, you know, a couple hundred feet, and I would drop that stuff, and I would come back, and then I would get Sarah's pack, and then run it up a few hundred feet, and then she was, like, hobbling with her trekking poles, and she, you know, throwing up. It was terrible.
It was a lovely time. All I remember is at the end, sitting down, like, right in the middle of the parking lot next to the car with my bottle of Gatorade. You know, it was like, and that was actually, it did make me feel better.
That made you kind of come around. The Gatorade was what really...
It was really a majestic weekend. And of course, being the people we are, was it like a couple years later, we were still upset by being defeated.
Yeah.
As, like, we've been defeated by things in life, and we get stuck. We just get stuck there.
Well, and, like, for me, like, I had always been interested in backpacking, and I never had gotten into it before, and I was still really interested in it, and it just boggled me. Like, how come I'm so bad at this? How come it's so difficult? And I just felt like there were so many things to learn, so I started, you know, doing some research and, you know, buying upgraded gear and getting the right gear for the right situation and the right circumstance, and it totally changed how I feel about it. And you would think that a couple people having such a bad experience like that you'd be like, I am not going backpacking ever again. But it honestly kind of fueled this passion of getting a sense of mastery over something difficult, and now it's something that we really enjoy.
But kind of proof, like, to do some research and know what you're doing, because I mean, you can get an injury that will alter your life. Like,
Big
I just
time.
took a walk, a 2-mile walk in the woods, and it,
Yep.
you know.
So if you're, like, thinking about getting into backpacking, if you're looking for one single item to invest money in and do it right, put that money into your pack. Because if you go on Amazon and you go with one of these cheapo Filippo Asian made packs, the straps are going to rip, the seams are going to tear, and it's a pack that potentially could hurt you because they're not really designed for backpacking. You know, they're designed for, you know, throwing some stuff in and going over to a friend's house or something like that. They're not backpacking packs. So if you were to put your money in one single gear item to get a really high-end gear item, it would be pack every time. Because, I mean, having a leaky tent isn't necessarily going to kill you. You know, having, you know, not the greatest cookware in the world, right? You can get by with that kind of stuff. Even if you don't have the best clothes or the best attire, you know, that stuff is not going to hurt you. But, you know, Sarah's got this lifelong injury now because of this, you know, terrible pack and, you know, terrible decisions of what to put in the pack as well. You know, it's not entirely just the pack's fault, but that would be my recommendation. The other thing I learned is that hammock camping is not the best type of camping for me. It's comfortable for a lot of people. I like to hammock camp maybe like 1 or 2 nights. I'm more of a tent person. I like to lay nice and flat and have a lot of support, and I just find I have kind of a hard time getting comfortable in a hammock. But if you are going to go and become a hammock camper, realize that a hammock setup, even if you go with the highest end hammock and the highest end top quilt and under quilt, it's always going to be heavier than a tent every single time.
Hammocking, maybe if you're going to do like a one-nighter, but I also think that if it's low light and you've hiked all day, that tents are easier to set up when you're running out of daylight.
Yep, definitely. Can take a while, you know, unless you're really proficient at your hammock setup.
Yeah, I'm sure if you've done it enough times. But
and you know what?
I think hammocks are comfortable. I was surprised because I thought I wouldn't be able to actually sleep in a hammock. You know, I'm kind of a side stomach sleeper. But I was actually surprised by how good hammocks really have become. You know, they've really... But yeah, it's just, you actually have to have a lot of stuff. You think in your mind like that's going to be so small and easy, but you actually need a lot of different things, you know, when you hammock camp. So, I mean, I think there's a time and place for it, though. We own, like, what, 3 or 4 between us? I mean, so there's a time and a place for everything. But I think just if we were going to do some big miles and stuff, it would probably be
the lightest setup possible.
A tent.
And as a female, the hammock is an awkward setup. Especially like if you're anywhere where there's going to be guys around, or if you're camping in a group, or people walking by, you know, like, you know, it's kind of acceptable to see men, you know, taking off their shirt, or, you know, like you see, you know, like a guy's butt behind a tree, you know. But for women to have any kind of nudity in the wild, it's like, whoa, you know, that's not okay. So it's really hard to try to get dressed while you're laying in a hammock, or you're standing under your tarp shelter. And you guys have it easy because if you have to pee in the middle of the night when you're in your hammock, you just, you know, grab a bottle and, you know, you just take care of it right there, where we have to, you know, crawl on out of it and, you know.
You want a good hammock story.
Oh, God.
Too bad we didn't catch this on video. So, I think it was a couple times ago, hammocking. So we still do hammock in the backcountry from time to time. And, so I have a hammock out there, and I think Samantha had her original hammock with the integrated bug net. Yep. This was before this fabulous company,
MCN Hammocks.
Gave her this amazing life-altering hammock, which I didn't get one yet.
No, you need to get one. It's
but
awesome.
Anyways, so she had her original janky hammock.
Yep.
And she sets it up, and like, I'm sleeping. It's the middle of the night. And all of a sudden, you know, it's like, I hear this scream, you know, in the middle of, it's like 2 a.m. And it had been raining. It had been raining, so it's kind of miserable. We were like in our hammock sleeping. You hear this scream, right? Because she tried to get out of the hammock, and she's gotten tangled up, and she's actually fallen out of her hammock into the integrated bug net, which has ripped, and she's stuck.
So the thing about the integrated bug net is, like, I moved over to the side, and I was trying to get that angled kind of sleep. And I moved over to the side, and then I moved over, and I moved over. It must have been when I was sleeping. And then
I had a bug net that was not attached.
Yeah, I will never do an integrated bug net ever again. And I get to the side, and of course, you know, as your shoulder and stuff starts to move up on the side where that mesh is integrated, your shoulder just kind of slides up. And then I woke up, and I thought, oh, I gotta pee. So So I kind of like rolled over and I'm trying to find the zipper. Next thing you know, all of a sudden the whole hammock just, it flips. And now I'm laying in the bug net. Like, and I'm like, oh no.
Yelling suspended. Like, I'm like, I look out. I mean, it's rainy and nighttime and miserable at 2 a.m. And I'm like, she's like, I'm stuck, screaming. Like, what do you want me to do? I think I was like, what do you want me to do about it?
You are of no help.
You know, because like you don't want to get out of a hammock. You know, it's work. Like,
so then I'm like, help, and I'm like holding on to the top of the hammock. So I'm like, oh no, my hammock's gonna rip. Like my bug net's gonna rip off. So I'm laying in this bug net and I'm holding on to the top and I'm trying to pull myself up and flip it around. All of a sudden, like the whole bug net just rips out. My butt, I butt through, fall down to the ground, soaking wet, all underneath. Oh, I was so mad, and then I had to like rant and rave around the campsite.
And then she proceeded to just keep swearing and just saying loud. It's 2 in the morning, and right, you know, keep it down, keep it down.
We were in the back.
And so finally, I had, you know, this went on for like 5 minutes. It's 2 a.m. You know, I looked at her and I'm like, well, are we gonna hike out of here tonight? And she's like, no. I'm like, okay, well, going back to bed. Like,
so I gotta get my
like we can either, hammock. You know, you have 2 choices. You know, like let's hike out or shut it and go to sleep.
You weren't having any of that. There was no sympathy from you. You were like, you know, it's because you had this stupid hammock. So now I have a really good hammock set up. It's a cottage hammock.
A custom made.
It's a custom made one. It fits me really well.
And a bug net that is not attached.
And I have just a regular bug net. So that way, if I ever get in a situation where I roll out of my hammock, which that has never happened. I slept in a bunch of other kinds of hammocks that didn't have this integrated bug net. And I never had that problem. So one thing I can think is like, I just kept rolling in the middle of the night and like your body doesn't know the difference when you start to transition on that mesh. So, you know, let me know if you guys have had problems with hammocks, because that was the biggest problem that I had. But again, it was just, you know, some cheap hammock. Wasn't very comfortable. So, but yeah, that was a good one. Oh, well, I think that's about it, you know, for, you know, backpacking mistakes and, you know, at least the big ones that we've made.
Well, I'm sure we could come up with some others for things we've brought from time to time.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, we'll...
You know, get yourself, you know, even if you spend $10-15 and get yourself a little BRS stove, don't bring this. You know, don't bring this back.
This is our car camping.
This is for car camping. Works great for car camping, but...
Yeah.
I think that's it. Well, now that we've had a good laugh, hopefully you have too. And we'll see you guys on the next video for our regularly scheduled programming.